We are live. Hi, hello, everyone. Welcome to Wild, the podcast, where we dive into conversations that matter. I'm Diana Kouprina, and I'm here with my brilliant co-host, Ashton Lauren Ryan. This week, we are thrilled to have Karen Goeller, author, actor, gymnastics coach, survivor. I'm just going to use the word hero as our keynote discussion speaker. Karen, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Join us this evening as we explore inspiring insights and powerful conversations live on Just TV, Roku TV, 101 TV, NCG Television Network, Fire TV, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, www.jessfm.ca. W.I.L.D, the podcast is proudly sponsored by W.I.L.D, the nonprofit dedicated to a vision of a better tomorrow. For more information, please visit wildthenonprofit.com. Sponsored by Wild Homes and Gardens magazine, presented by Just TV, and supported by viewers like you. Stay tuned as we dive into what we love doing here on Wild. Hi, Karen. Welcome. I'm just going to jump into the midst of it and ask you, what is it that you love doing and why?
That's there are so many things that I love doing.
As we've come to discover, that's why I wanted to leave that open for you just to get the conversation rolling.
Okay, so I love gymnastics. It's been my my lifetime sport. I started as a kid. I actually started in ballet in the early 70s, and then I started gymnastics, and then my knees were really bad. I had tendonitis and Osgood and stuff, my knees were just a disaster. So by age 12, I was already coaching because I couldn't compete anymore. So I've been coaching since 1978, and I love coaching as much now as I did 20 and 30 and 40 years ago.
That's amazing.
It really is.
You've seen so much change in the world of gymnastics.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's almost like it's a different sport because the equipment has changed so much, and that's why the skill level has changed so much.
Oh, I didn't even think. I was just thinking there's just a gymnastics culture and just being obsessed with it when I was in the Soviet Union. That felt like a different world of what gymnastics was, and then being here and then just watching the gymnasts and all of that dynamic continuously always changing, and now here we are, and it's like, wow, gymnastics has come a long way.
Yes, but here's the funny thing, and most coaches do not even think of it this way, but gymnasts, since kids are at home and just watching TV and playing video games, they don't go out to play anymore like our generation did. They're actually walking into the gym less physically prepared to do gymnastics than ever before, but coaches are expecting them to do more at an earlier age than ever before. So it's really interesting. There are more overuse injuries than there were 10, 20, and 30 years ago with younger kids, and it's partially because kids are less physically prepared.
Wow. I wouldn't even, that's an interesting little, like, of course, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah. I mean, I keep reading about 6 and 7-year-olds with overuse injuries, and that didn't happen years ago. And then there are other kids that cannot even do one pull-up on bars because kids just, they don't ride their bicycles, they don't climb trees, they don't do anything physical until they actually go into a sport. So it's very different in that way.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
I am saying, well, because, my daughter, luckily she's on the other side of it all. She, goes on her bikes ride. She rides her bike to school. She climbs trees. Now she's doing cartwheels. So she's self-taught, but I'm like, okay, you're really showing interest. I respect that. So we'll sign you up.
Oh, good. That's great.
My son my little son is 5, and so I'm homeschooling, and he's kindergarten, but it's pretty like open. He actually is sitting still much longer than I like thought he would, but he just recently, he's going across the monkey bars now. Like, and I'm just like, this is the first time I've ever seen him go across, and he's a little guy. Like, I'm just like, so he's a strong little guy, but my son climbs trees, does all the things. It's interesting just to think about too, because I'm excited for him to start his tumbling and to see what he's capable of. I guess that's what I'm thinking about. You know, yeah.
It's better. Even the younger, the better. I believe with gymnastics. I don't know if that's
yes and no.
I don't know the new philosophy. I'm the Soviet.
It's interesting because a lot of gym owners want them to go in early, and now they're allowed to compete at a much younger age. But from a sports science perspective, it's not a good idea to have them do too much too soon. So it really depends on the program. If it's a program where they're not really thinking about overuse injuries or injury prevention, then you don't want to, you don't want them to go in there at all, but you don't want them to go in too soon. If it's a program where the coaches are well aware of how much to do with kids that young, then it's all right, because kids are not going outside and playing. They need some sort of activity anyway. So you just have to be careful with where you take your kids.
What age do they start competing now?
Now they're competing as young as like 5 and 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's too young. But USA Gymnastics, when I was a gymnast in the 70s, there were just 3 levels. It was class 3, 2, 1, and then elite. So it was really 4 levels. But now there are 10 levels. And when they first did that 10-level program, it was really the first 4 levels were done inside the gym. They were not competing on those levels. It was just testings, skill testings. Yeah. And then they were competing levels 5 through 10 plus elite. So they weren't allowed to do level 5 until they were 7 years old at the time. But now that they have levels 1 through 4 actually competing, these kids are actually getting more serious more early. So it does create some issues for some kids with too much too soon.
Too much, yeah. I can see that. That could be a completely new type of strain.
Yeah. Which, I mean, obviously I love the sport. It's a great sport. But just some people just take it to the extreme on that low level. And on that low level, they should really just be having fun. They shouldn't take it so seriously when they're 5 years old.
Yeah. No, I could. Yeah.
I can't even imagine trying to get my son, my 5-year-old, to compete. You should have seen him in his soccer game yesterday. Like, he's definitely the flower picking one out there. I can't even imagine trying to, like, I don't even know how I would incentivize. Like, he'd have to be that interested. And he's so, I don't know. It's interesting. That
same thing with my daughter. She did the same thing. Soccer, 5 years old. She's on the soccer field. She ran one time. She kicked the ball. She saw something else. Then she found a playground and she was out of there.
My son wanted to. This is his 2nd season and he was so excited. And then it's very interesting. But anyway, I'm just thinking about him competing. Like, in a true sense. That's funny. That would be so cute to watch.
To compete, I feel like.
Yeah.
What is can competition be taught now that it's like friendly competition? I mean, I just have the 90s still kind of stuck in me, where competition was still really competitive. Like, it was really, and that broke me. I wish it was different. If it was a little bit less competition, then I think I could have done better, because I was just such a perfectionist. And when a perfectionist competes, you just end up spiraling down. That's what.
Well, here's something. USA Gymnastics came up with an alternate program that's less serious. It's actually called Excel, and the gymnasts are not required to do skills on such a high level. So it runs alongside. The JO program goes levels 1 through 10 plus elite, and that's more of a serious track. But then USA Gymnastics created Excel programs And there are fewer levels. I think there's like 5 different levels in that program, and they're not as advanced or serious. And they're for the kids that want to compete, but they don't want to make it their entire
life. Like, this
Yeah.
is not for the Olympics. This is
right, just for fun.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Having the Olympic dream is so serious. I mean,
Yeah.
I grew up watching the Olympics, so for me, the Olympics for like the it on TV. I don't know what to compare it to modern times. Like, just the biggest event. That is the only thing you watch on TV.
Yes.
And for me, it was always gymnastics, ice skating, and a few other ones. But gymnastics, I watched the gymnasts and they gave me hope. So I would do those little activities on the floor, watching them, being like, oh, I wish I wasn't so scared to tumble. Maybe I could.
Do you want to hear something interesting? So there are only like 5 Olympic gymnasts every 4 years, right? It's actually easier to become a doctor or a lawyer than it is an Olympic gymnast.
Wow.
Oh yeah. That totally makes sense. I think, yeah.
Yeah. Because there are only 5 every 4 years. What are the chances? No matter how great a gymnast is, there are only 5 spaces.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's crazy. On the women's, and then the men's is the same. Okay. Wow.
Well,
there's only 5. Right. There's only 5. Right. Yeah.
So to get onto that team is just, it's such an incredible feat. It really is. It's just, those girls are just so incredible. So, yeah.
Dedicated. That's dedication.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was actually, I didn't watch Olympics for a few years, but this year I tuned in. I wanted to see Simone Biles. I followed her career, and I did. I think she did great. I don't even know how she flies like that. I don't know what the trick is, but she flies. That's all I can say.
Yeah, she does. She's amazing. Believe it or not, a lot of what happens in the gym is dependent on what happens at home. And a lot of gymnasts, parents, and coaches don't even think that. But the amount of sleep, the amount of fluid, and the quality of food that a gymnast or any athlete eats at home, it really affects what happens in the gym. Mm-hmm. So one bad night of sleep can actually turn into a dangerous situation for an athlete in the gym. It's kind of like driving.
I can see why. Yeah. For me, if I don't have enough sleep personally, my brain is not functioning up to par. Yeah. So again, I can't imagine twirling, jumping, balance being.
Physical exertion.
Yes, my mind is not in sync. And then if body and the body, mind, if it's not all connected, how do you even let go? And how do you trust that you're going to land safely on your feet without hurting, breaking? Who was it? Carrie Strong in the Olympics, where she nailed it, but her poor ankle. I mean, it was just but wow.
Yeah, she was injuries. Yeah, I used to watch Carrie Strug in that group training during the summers when I was working for Bella.
Wow. So many questions. See, we can have a whole conversation, like the whole show about gymnastics, but there's so much more that we want to cover with you, because you're not just the coach. You're also an author. Yes. What inspired you to pick up the pen and paper and just start writing?
Well, in 2000, I was actually in an accident. A construction board fell on my head and it crushed my spine. Oh. So I was disabled. And then, believe it or not, a YMCA in Massachusetts, the one I told you about previously, called and said they needed help training their coaches. So they asked me to come up with a program to train their coaches. And the coaches there did so well with it, I decided to publish it. And that was my first book. And then I saw that it was popular, and I was the only one out there with a gymnastics, drills, and conditioning book. At the time, that was in 2000. And I created a series of drills and conditioning books. So there are actually 6 of those books, different topics in that gymnastics drills series.
Oh, I'd love to read them.
Me
Just
too.
for my hobby satisfaction, just to see the
And
just
advice.
to
Because right
see.
now I've learned that as I've gotten when I was younger, I got away with a lot with what my body could do, what it couldn't do. I did a lot of ballet, so again, I was always in that movement. Then I stopped for a long time, and then coming back into it, I think now as I get older, I see so much more value. Just even the basic ballet positions,
Yeah.
I could hold easily, and I would get so bored in class just holding them because I wanted to move more rather than just doing the same position. I wanted to be flying. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, I don't want to be. I want to hold this one position. It's still hard.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
without practice and without that, but it's amazing what your body is capable of doing and how it heals. And I would say you're the expert on that because you found your body healing twice.
Yeah, more than twice.
Is it more than twice?
Yeah, more than twice. So besides the gymnastics books, I have fitness books, children's books, and the one that you may be referring to is the book that I wrote based on my cancer diagnosis when I was 25 years old. Yeah. So I was not allowed to work out for an entire year. And I owned my gym at the time. So I missed a good amount of time in my own gym. Thankfully, I had amazing coaches working for me. And the first day I went back into my gym, somebody drove me. My leg was still as big as my waist. One of the coaches, the one who was basically running my gym while I wasn't there, I was sitting on the side with the parents with my leg elevated because the cancer was actually in my leg. And he said, "What are you doing sitting over here? Those are your gymnasts." So he takes a chair, brings it over to the other side of the gym where my gymnasts were, and they were on the uneven bars. He puts the chair down. He brings a second chair so that I could elevate my leg over there. And he said, "They're your gymnasts. Coach them." So that's how I started coaching again. But that day was very stressful because I couldn't spot them anymore because I had to have my leg up. So just telling a gymnast, do this or do that, sometimes it doesn't work. So I changed my entire way of coaching and started doing more drills and conditioning with them. And my gymnasts had more success after my cancer surgery than they did before my cancer surgery because I changed my whole way of coaching.
Wow.
Wow. That is impressive.
Thanks.
So cool.
I'm sorry. It's so, like I said, hero. I think I used the right word. That was what came to mind. I'm just inspired to read your books right now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you're not only just an author, you're an actor, producer, and screenwriter.
Yes.
So how do you connect all of it together? I love to hear all those things. They're all everything I wished I could have been when I was younger. I wanted to be an actor. I had horrible stage fright. I surpassed it, but I had horrible. Every time I got on, I would just be shaking. So my body would just be doing a different type of dance, and I mean, I just couldn't speak. I wouldn't be able. In my head, I would be saying the dialogue, but it wasn't ever coming out the right way at all.
Well,
but yeah.
Film acting is very different from theater or stage acting, much different, because you're there with the other actors and the crew, but there usually is not an audience, and you get to do it over again if you mess up.
Right.
And you get direction, from the director. They tell you how to make it better. And they don't accept it unless it's good. You have to keep doing it until it's done, the way the director wants it done. So there's a lot more, I'd say, leeway with film acting, because stage acting, that's it. One and done.
That's where I started. Private school. Theater,
same girl, same.
Yeah. I did a little theater, not much.
Yeah,
so.
I couldn't, like, I was like, maybe if there was a camera, I would do it better. But it's just that innate reaction where you just, how do you zone everybody out? And it never worked for me to just picture them in their underwear. I don't know. And at the same time, I don't think my mind wanted that visual because, well, then what am I really picturing?
Yeah. I've never pictured that. You basically have to pretend the audience is not there.
Right.
I mean, it sounds weird, but you have to basically be in the moment of what's happening on stage with the other actors.
That you're not aware of. Yeah, you just have to be. And
Yeah,
for me,
same
that
thing.
was always so hard to be
It's
present.
me too. Me too. I wanted so hard. I'll never forget. I just came across some photos. I've always loved Pride and Prejudice, and I went to my school. We would put on different Jane Austen plays. It was like 5th grade or 6th grade, and I so badly in the mirror when I was auditioning with myself, I had it all down. I ended up getting the role of Mary, and I'm just on the piano, like one line, and even that made me want to throw up. Like it was something. I found the pictures and the way they had me, kind of similar to now, just like hair, like it was such a great, and I like threw my whole like physical part into it. So you see the pictures, but the lights, I think the lights, as long as there are bright lights, that helps. That seemed to help. Like you don't see anything going on and it distracts. It kind of like, I don't know. That's all I ever remember, like those types of like plays. I feel like film would be difficult, but that's
film is. It depends. For some people, film is easier. For other people, stage acting is easier. For me, film is a lot easier because you get that feedback from the director over and over again. So you have to try
the practice, the repetition of the voice. It's really nice. I always enjoy that. I realize how much I appreciate it. Even when I prepare for these shows, I read the script, and I try to really get my voice, and I really realize I set the tone when I'm actually just reading over and over and over and just letting it absorb, that it kind of flows through the throat. And I'm like, okay, see, this is nice and steady. But with the stage, being out on the stage immediately, it's just something. I had the same reaction when I went onto the stage to read my poetry, and I was on a little podium, and I had the same reaction. I was convinced, like, I can do this completely steady. I've been doing this podcast for quite some time. I don't feel any jitters. I'm not nervous. Yeah. But I get up to the podium to read my poem, and I just feel my legs buckle. You know, that buckling shakes, and my hands are shaking. And when I'm reading, my voice is a complete shaken tremble. I felt it. I felt myself trembling. They still applauded. Okay. Some said it wasn't that bad, but for me, it wasn't my best. It wasn't, and I couldn't even, I didn't know what it was, but it was just that all that emotion was just, anytime I'm on stage, it just feels urgently emotional. I don't know how else to explain it.
And we're our worst critics too, of course. So everything that we're in our own little head. I can only imagine public speaking like that. Ugh, I don't like public speaking.
I've done public speaking. I did lectures for USA Gymnastics and the NSCA.
That's awesome.
See, impressive hero. Every time she says anything, I'm just like, okay, well, I want so many autographs from her now.
It's so inspiring, though. You can truly do it all. Like, that's what I think is so cool. And all of your different things all play such a role to help. Like, now that you're writing are you writing a screenplay? Tell us about that.
I have one. I have a couple. One that I'm focusing on right now is my feature film. And that's actually an anti-bullying story. It's called Missy's Voice. But before I wrote the feature, let me back up. I actually wrote it as a short script first. And then I said to myself, well, I could publish a book much faster than I can produce a film. So I converted the short film to a book, a children's book. Oh. And then I actually have it here. And then
oh, I love it.
Then I spoke to some producers. This is 4 years ago. And they said, this is a great story. You really need to make this into a feature. So I did that. Then I thought I had financing, didn't have it. It fell through. And now I'm so happy to announce that we are moving forward with this. We're actually in the next stage of development with the feature film, Missy's Voice.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
That's big.
That's huge.
That's a huge accomplishment. Just decide, and just to even get funding, and just to get.
We're still looking for more. We're still looking for more funding, but we've have some enough to start the whole ball rolling. So it's really, really exciting. So, and then I have short films that I wrote.
Oh.
So. One of them made the film festival circuit. I did a year of film festivals and it won a lot of awards. The funny thing is, it's a comedy. It won awards, but I'm not even funny. And I've written that comedy and another comedy, and that other one, which I didn't produce yet, it's still a script, but the script won awards. So it's kind of funny. I don't consider myself a funny person, but I've written 2 comedies. So
that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
You get it. You get the beauty and the humor and the satire and like all of it, right? And I think that you definitely are in sync with your voice. You're just magnificent.
Thank you.
How did you overcome everything in your life? Because you've had obstacles.
Oh yeah, I've had plenty of obstacles. When you want to get something done, you just keep pushing through to do it. And when you live alone and you have no choice, you just keep going. So that's about it. You just kind of keep going, or if you have a goal so strong, like my Missy's Voice film, I feel like I have to do it. It's not something that, it would be nice to do. I feel like that story needs to be done because the world needs to hear more messages about being kind. So you just keep going until you get it done.
I feel you. I feel that writer's drive too. I feel you on it.
Yeah.
I feel like we have these conversations, Diana, this, we have no choice. Like, this is what we're doing. Like, there was just a feeling in your heart, like and it is hard to really put it to words how you do it, but there's no other choice. Like, this is what we're doing, right?
Yeah. This is just, this is how it's just, that has to happen. And I don't know if it's hope or I don't know what type of feeling. It's just the need. It needs the need to get it done, and then the need to, perfect it, and to, even if it gets rejected, to continuously to do it until you reach the point where it gets, accepted finally. And it did in Missy's Voice. And again, that's a huge accomplishment. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I actually have a really strong production company attached. They've had films on Stars and streaming and Target, and they've gone the whole gamut of getting films done, produced, and distributed, theatrical releases and stuff like that. So I have really great confidence in this production company. So I know it's happening. It's just, I can't wait for it to be done type situation, but it's happening. We're working on it. It's moving forward. So
I feel you. I feel about the excitement of just wanting it to be done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that one.
Yeah.
So tell us about how, I know there's not a clear path to you completed writing your screenplay or something of the sort. What do you do now? Tell us, writers that are lost.
The process of it. So, well, first you need the idea, then you have to write it, but you have to be careful because you have to make sure you're using screenwriting software. It just makes the whole process easier. And then you can actually print reports like location reports, character reports. It just formats it so much nicer for you. So once you have your nice script, if you want to get some, feedback on your script, you can actually enter it into film festival contests, which is what I did. That's how it won awards. Then you have to raise money to make the film. And while you're raising money, then you can get the paperwork started and make sure you connect with a really, really experienced production company. And if you've never actually produced a film before, especially a feature-length film, then you need to really be careful about who you get involved with. Yeah, when I first thought I had financing, I got involved with someone that claimed they could do this, but I wasted almost a year with that person, and it was just a disaster. So thankfully, now I'm involved with a production company whose projects I've actually worked on. So I know how they work, and I was so glad that they were available when I called them about a year ago to start this project. And I was so glad and grateful that they actually accepted it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
What are some red flags in production, like a production company that, sorry, am I deviating? Too much. It's so cool.
A couple of memories.
Do share if you want.
Red flag is when they make a promise that is so great that it can't, and it just can't be done overnight. Or if they say that it's easy to raise funds, it's really not unless they've won the lottery. If they tell you that you have to keep rewriting your script, they're kind of just taking your money and just, putting you through the ringer, basically. If they're telling you that you have to find additional production companies, that's a red flag, because if they claim to be a production company, they don't really need a second one right away. If they don't know how to tell you how the process works, that's a red flag.
These are good. Yeah. I'm just curious.
If they don't have a track record, like if you can't find them on IMDb, that's the Film and Actors database, then that's a huge red flag. Sometimes some people that call themselves producers will say that they've done, this work for 20 years or 10 years, and you can't find them on IMDb. And when their response is, IMDb doesn't matter, oh, yes, it does matter. Yeah. So, or if they've only done short films and they're claiming that they can do a feature film, you don't know if they really can. So you might want to, find a production company that has done feature films. It just, if they're over promising, then you have to be really careful. So.
And that's like gut. You have to almost trust your gut too on these things with the over, because and get past the excitement from it. Those are great little. I always like to hear how you figured it out. Not like I said, no clear path.
I love the details of just the whole process of submission, because A, it's very difficult.
Yes.
B, it's you never even know. For me, I know as a writer, a submission process was always the most terrifying process, because where do I find, who do I submit? And the ones I want to submit, I can't even reach because, I didn't have a literary agent, or I didn't have this. And then but that's where my heart is saying, but that's where I belong. So how do I get from, this point A to that point B? And that how always fascinates me. And you did it with your screenplay. So yeah, I really love hearing that. How?
It's hard.
Did you need to get an agent? Did you do it without an agent?
No, I don't have an agent. I don't have an agent as an actor or as a writer. The other thing is you have to make sure you copyright and register your work right away. I copyrighted and I registered with WGA right away. The other thing is, don't give too much of your secret away, because other people if they have the financing before you, they can, kind of run with it, or they can, do a project based on your idea, even though it's not your exact story. So you have to be careful with that too.
I always wonder about those little legalities, the copyright, and you hear horror stories. I won't say it, but I think there's a movie we all love that, didn't they say it was stolen? The book, she was like stolen from her college roommate. Do you know what I'm talking about? Who I'm talking about?
No.
Anyway, I won't talk smack because I'm not 100% sure, but when I was in college, it was part of it was talked about between the English majors. So it is like, so you recommend, did you say WGA?
Yes, WGA, Writers Guild.
Writers Guild, okay.
Yeah.
This is great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The copyright is very, very important also. So you should do both. I did, but as soon as I typed the last word, I went on both websites and registered and did, because they let you do it online now. But you sometimes also have to submit a hard copy, which I believe I had to do for the script.
Okay.
You need a hard copy. Oh, I see.
Hard copy meaning print it out and then actually mail it to the mailing address that's on the website. Okay. Yeah, but sometimes you don't have to print it out. Like with the short scripts, I didn't have to send hard copies in. So.
Now tell us a tiny bit about I'm sure there's multiple, or is there only one? What did you say? It was like a formatting for screenplays. Tell us about that.
I used Final Draft. That seems to be the most popular one in the film industry. Okay. And you can actually, as you're typing, you can put in directions. You can put in whether it's interior or exterior. You can put in the characters, and then it basically collects these lists of characters for you, so that once you're done writing, you can actually go back and print a list of your characters. You can add the character descriptions.
Oh, that's so convenient.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is really. So you're better off paying for that, because if you want to write it on like MS Word and then transfer it, it doesn't work so well. And Final Draft almost teaches you how to write a script, because you see all of these features and then you say to yourself, oh, I should be doing that. So if you're the curious type, then you come out with a really nice script, and, Final Draft helps with that.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's really
I feel like we're the curious type.
That's right.
I mean, I took actually in college, I took script writing class. I loved it. I loved the idea of writing a script.
Me too. I've taken a few during COVID. There was like these random little online ones, and I wrote a couple different things, and they did have the formatting. So just to get it to me, that writing, when you're writing, you know how it comes out, you almost don't even know what you're going to say. So when it's just like that, to where you input what's coming out, it's just it's efficiency. This is it. So that's how my brain works, and that's what I need sometimes.
The funny thing is, for years, people told me, oh, why don't you write your own script? Because I started in the film industry in 2012 as an actor. And I kept saying to myself for years, I can't put words into anyone else's mouth. Like, how on earth do you think or speak for like however many people are in your script? I couldn't get the concept of how that would work.
I always wondered about that too, actually.
Yeah, it was weird. It just kind of happened. And once I started writing, it flowed.
So does it just come out and you just, this is the character? You just basically bring it to life, right? For whatever conversations you had in your head.
Yeah. Yeah. With Missy's voice, I actually heard some radio announcers talking about something, and it triggered a childhood memory. And that's what made me say this would be a cute short film. And then I went from there. So I kind of had an idea of the characters because it was based on that childhood memory. And then I went from there and created all these other characters. And I can't believe that for years I thought it would be impossible for my brain to do that. And then I ended up doing it.
I felt the same way for years too. It hasn't been until recently where I felt like, okay, I can actually, I can actually do this. Because before I was just stuck in, I had this fear or block or something in me that said that I couldn't do it. And I always wondered, but how is it possible? And yet, surprisingly, these whole dialogues that I was having in my head, Well, having it with someone else inside.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's how it's done, right? We just write it.
Yeah. The short films I wrote, one of them was a dream, and as soon as I woke up, I typed it out. That's the one that won a bunch of awards. That was one of the comedies. And the other one, part of that was actually a dream that I had, and I typed that out as soon as I woke up.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that.
I wrote a poem after waking up from a dream, actually. Ashton, I think we published it somewhere.
I wonder which one. I feel like you maybe told me, but I can't place which one it was.
It's somewhere. It's on Facebook. I don't want to take off Karen's time because this is her moment and not my moment. And we only do have 5 minutes. So for anyone that's tuning in, thank you for joining us. We're here with Karen and Ashton, and we've been having a quite lively discussion on gymnastics, writing, producing, acting, public speaking, just to name a few. It has been quite a show, but we're here basically in our conclusion. So for anyone tuning in, we're going to have Karen to just add a few more things that she's proud of, how to reach her, how to connect with her, and I really hope you do. And again, thank you for tuning in. This is W.I.L.D, the nonprofit. This is W.I.L.D, the podcast. You're sponsored by W.I.L.D, the nonprofit dedicated to a vision of a better tomorrow. For more information, please visit W.I.L.D, the nonprofit. Also sponsored by W.I.L.D Homes and Gardens magazine and presented by Jess TV. And supported by viewers like you. I'm sorry, I'm mumbling because I really want to give Karen the amount of time to do this. So you do have 4 minutes. I took up a minute. I'm sorry.
That's okay. To reach me, you can go to KarenGoeller.com. It's www.KarenGoeller.com. My email is Karen@KarenGoeller.com. For information on the most recent project, go to missysvoice.com. So that's www.missysvoice.com. That's missysvoice.com. You can find my books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, pretty much anywhere that books are sold. And my phone number, if you're looking to get involved in the Missy's Voice project, is 908-278-3756.
Oh, we can even write that down and share it. Let's write down the phone number so we can share it on all our social media as well. Can you repeat the phone number?
Sure, it's 908
278
3756.
3756. And this is to get involved with the Missy's Voice project.
Right. That's the anti-bullying film.
Mm-hmm. Are you is there anything you need in particular that, are you looking for actors? What is it?
Well, I hate to say it, but actors are kind of easy to find. We're still looking for a few more investors. Mm-hmm. We have pretty much all of the crew. We have the production company. We have a few cast members already, and actors will put out the auditions through the casting websites, and we'll contact some talent managers, some agents and stuff like that. But actors in general, they're not as hard to find as money.
That makes sense, right?
Anyone who's actually tuning in right now, who is maybe a producer, investor interested in this project, I think it's an amazing project. Anything anti-bullying, I feel like really needs to have a huge platform, a huge voice, and should be immediately produced, released, and it is an investment that is worthy. I would believe so. So for anyone that's listening, do connect with Karen, and we will post the phone number and all the websites you mentioned on our website. We'll post it on Wild, the podcast. We'll post it all around social media, all the groups that I manage, and hopefully we'll reach the right people. I try to think of social media as the tool that connects us with our desires and helps us manifest a little bit faster than we would if we didn't have it. So hopefully it gets you the connections you need. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Any last minute remarks? This is our time. This is our good night. Anything else, Ashton, you want to peep in?
I feel like we covered so much. I'm super inspired, and thank you for sharing your tips, if you will. That's the most like under exact, like that it barely covers, but
really
you know,
appreciate
that's valuable to me, and I know to our viewers. We have so many writers that are, you know, trying to figure it out. So it's nice to have some structure.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us.
I actually have an article and a podcast on getting started on writing a book, because my neighbors always ask me how to write a book. So I actually wrote an article and did a podcast to get them started.
So where do people find this? Just real quickly before we say goodnight.
That's on KarenGoeller.com. But my podcasts are pretty much all over the place. Like anywhere you get podcasts, you can just type my name into the podcast website, like iTunes and all the other ones, Apple, and I go through Spreaker, and that distributes them.
Well,
that's wonderful.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we appreciated your time. We'll definitely be in touch.
Okay.
And everyone, have a great night. Thank you for listening. This was W.I.L.D, the podcast. Have a great night.